You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by Goosehead Insurance. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. We're here with our friend Chris Mucker. What do you do? What do you do?
I am an independent contractor / owner operator with a small trucking company.
Perfect. Logistics and stuff like that. You transport goods?
Yeah, I transport goods. Basically, I'm a truck driver, but independent contractor is a cool title.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. You're a truck driver that you don't work for Walgreens or Walmart or something. You do your own. You work for a broker.
I work from. My broker is the person who gets me the stuff that I transport.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I work for me, and they get a percentage.
Oh, I see. Similar to like what I'm doing, basically. I work for Goosehead, but I sell my own shit and I'm my own business kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So the point, I guess, of having Chris here today is we're going to talk about a little bit how you got started, your ideas from concept to reality and stuff like that. What got you into the trucking business without having much experience in that?
Well, this would have been back in 2015, so this story starts 7 years ago. I remember I was going from temp job to warehouse job to temp job, just really not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I worked in a foundry for a temp job, and it literally had 1920s, 1930s working conditions.
Wow.
I'll never forget, we were on a line of these ingots coming out of this just hot furnace. Mm-hmm. And they were glowing orange, like you would see in a movie.
Right.
And we would use these gloves, these special gloves, and take them off and stack them. Now, mind you, it's hot. You're sweating. And every so often, these gloves would start on fire.
Oh, shit.
And so you would have to take the gloves off, put the other pair of gloves on, and then repeat the process until those gloves started on fire, and then repeat the process.
There's no tool they could have handed you? What the hell, dude? In the 1930s, they had tools. Now they just give you gloves that start on fire?
So I remember I had this day. It was an 8 or 9 hour day, mm-hmm. and I go home to my wife, and I'm like, I broke down into tears. I literally said, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. My life is going nowhere. I'm like, I just almost killed myself, literally, for it was $9 an hour to do that.
Wow. Really? The foundry?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I talked to this guy. He could barely speak English. I'm like, how do you guys do this? He's like, it's hard, but I lost 50 pounds over the summer. I remember him saying that. That's what stuck out to me.
Focusing on the positive.
And I'm like, so the benefit of this is I'll lose weight, maybe. So I talked to our friend Steve. Some people, if they follow the Traumaholics, they may know him as Omar Saeed.
Right.
So he's got his CDL, and he was like, get your CDL. You won't ever make less than $16 an hour again. Mm. And to me, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bull crap.
Mm-hmm. I could definitely swear on here. Adam's done it 15 times on the last episode.
Apparently,
really?
I don't give a shit. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, bullshit. There's no fucking way I'm gonna make $16 an hour. Mm-hmm. Man, hindsight, that's not a lot of money, but to me, I'm like, $16 an hour. He's like, go get your CDL. Mm-hmm. So I go to a school bus company. Mm-hmm. They are like, hey, do you got a pulse? Are you not a sex offender? I'm like, no, I'm not. And yes, I do. Wait a minute. I'm not a sex offender. I do have a pulse.
That one's optional, really.
So, no, yeah, they take me through the training. I get my CDL in 2 weeks. And then I left there and I got a different job immediately.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they were paying $14 an hour. But I ended up getting hired by Dr. Pepper. And I remember I got my first check and it was $750 in a week.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, this is the most money I've ever seen in my life.
That's great money.
Yeah, it is great money. That's how I got my journey, getting my CDL. Mm-hmm. Things worked out for me pretty well there. I started being able to, afford nicer housing, get vehicles. Mm-hmm. Then 2020 happened. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was working for a company called Testa Produce. Mm-hmm. When the pandemic happened, everything shut down. And basically what they do, they deliver vegetables and fruits to all the restaurants, bars, hotels.
Oh, okay.
So, and we all know what got hit first was restaurants, bars, hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got laid off.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm getting my unemployment, gaining weight, you know, going stir crazy. Yeah. And then I get a letter, an email. Hold on, let me see if I still have it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have this. I hope I do. I'll never forget it. It's like it changed my life forever.
Congratulations, you've won.
Your December bill is paid. Click on this link for your free gift.
Would you benefit from a month's free subscription to Hims? Cure your erectile dysfunction in 3 weeks.
So this is I get from HR. It says, please see attached letter regarding your employment with Testa Produce.
Uh-oh.
I open it up. It says, Dear Mr. IRIBE, due to the present state of the food service industry and the slow reopening of hotels and restaurants during this COVID-19 pandemic, sorry to inform you that you're no longer employed with Testa Produce.
Wow.
So, I don't know who Mr. IRIBE is. And so I sent back an email to her. I said, this has someone else's name on it.
Yeah.
That's all I said. And she says, sorry, Chris. I originally sent you the wrong letter. My apologies. Kim. That's the last I ever heard of them.
So the letter was meant for you, but their mail merge fucked up and didn't put your name and address on it.
Wow. Wow.
So, you guys know me. I'm really dramatic. You know, I'm extremely dramatic. And, like, I was already at my breaking point from a lot of other things in life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mainly because I've always wanted to go my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things haven't really, like, worked out for me at a lot of places. I've skipped around a lot because, like, I never could find what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment that I was like, you know what? I'm never going to work for anyone again.
Mm-hmm.
And I called like everybody I knew. I called my mom. I called my stepsister and my family. And they're like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? You're just not going to work? I'm like, I'm going to make money. They're like, how? What, are you going to sell drugs? I'm like, maybe, but not at that point yet. I got some money saved up. I'm still on unemployment, but I'm never working for anyone ever again. And I'm like, well, what can I do to make money? So I started looking at like how to make money from home, and I tried some there's one of these programs where you call someone, you have their information, you say they had sent out like something looking for insurance, and then you send them over to an insurance sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that for a little bit. Then I was doing like this hotelplanner.com where you're like, people are calling in and you're like booking their hotels.
Oh yeah.
And I was just doing that to get by.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know. And then I was like, well, I love driving. So I'm going to find out what it takes to be an independent contractor and an owner operator. I'm like, I have no money, no capital, terrible credit, but I'm going to find a way to do it. Because I feel like if I can talk to someone, I can get them to trust me in the truck.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Someone to believe in you.
Someone to believe. So I go onto Indeed and I search, independent contractor, CDL jobs, and they're all for like Class A trucking, which is like the big trucks, and I had Class B license.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, there's got to be some company. And then I stumble upon my broker, called Minnesota. So they're like, yeah, not having money up front for the insurance isn't a deal breaker. If we have the right caliber person, we could maybe work something out, come in for an interview at this time. So I remember I was doing a job. I was doing some driving job, third shift. And I finished that, and I drive my jalopy, my Buick, a Buick LeSabre. I drive it all the way to Economwalk, to where their warehouse is. I make it on time, 6 o'clock in the morning to the interview. I meet up with the guy. We have a great conversation. Everything went awesome. Get back to the house. A couple of days go by, and I get a letter saying that they have went with someone else who had the money.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
like, shit. Well, that sucks. I kind of put all my eggs in this basket.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna need some capital. So I happen to get a call from my brother, like, hey, do you know anybody wanting to start a business? I'm like, yeah, nigga, me. Like, I'm like, are you joking right now? Like, were you like listening to my one of the many reasons why I believe in God, but like he He's like, no, I happen to get like someone telling me that there's this company and they want to give black people money to start businesses. I'm like, why? I'm like, well, fuck why? Like, who are they? Like, okay, give me their information. I told him, what happened with that company.
Yeah.
And I got another buddy of mine who's in the Army who like he made a business plan for me and he did all this other stuff. And I'm like, his name's Dan Jackson. He's an awesome guy. One of my best friends. He made a business plan for me in a glide path, whatever the fuck that is. Like, I know what it is, but like at the time I'm like, yeah, sure, glide path. Yeah, give me that too.
Yeah.
Give me whatever. Give me all that shit. Make me look great. Like, I'm not, but make me look great.
Yeah.
And so basically it was a summary of everything I had done up until that point to get into the point where I'm going to start a business. And then it outlined how much money I need exactly to start the business. I went and I talked to the Milwaukee Entrepreneurs Coalition. And this guy's like, yeah, sometimes we'll invest $100,000, sometimes it'll be to $1 million, depends on what they're doing. He's just talking about these big numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like trying not to fucking act like, impressed, but I'm losing my shit. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so he's like, we'll set up a meeting. Why don't you go and talk to those people again and we'll set up a meeting. So I look on Indeed again and they still have it up, the ad up. So I call them, the recruiter. He's like, oh, I'm so glad you called. There was a guy that we went with, and mind you, this is a couple weeks after they said no. The guy we went with, all we asked him to do was deliver the freight with a pallet jack. He's been hopping on a forklift and destroying their property. I'm like, oh, thank God. Another reason why I believe in God.
Great news for
you. So he's like, but right now we need someone to fill a role immediately, and we'll put you in a rider truck, and then we'll take the money out of your first payments until we can put you in one of our trucks that you will sublease. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'm your guy. I'll show up. I'll do whatever. I'll kill someone. Like, whatever you need. Like, so. I end up talking to the Entrepreneurs Coalition. They're like, well, it doesn't seem like you need capital anymore. So if you ever do need, a fleet of vehicles, just give us a call.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm talking to my brother about it, and we're referencing the movie Trading Places. I don't know if you've ever seen it with
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And I'm like, these guys are probably just placing bets. Like, I'm like, who knows? Like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I don't care. I'll take the money. Right? It's totally fine.
Jeez, that is funny though.
But
wow.
No, I get put in a truck, and he's telling me how much I can make, and I'll just go out there and put it out there. Like, usually with a Class B CDL job, you're gonna make now between 18 and 22 an hour. When I first got it, it was like 16 and 18.
Okay.
You kind of top out at that $22 an hour range. This guy was like, yeah, you're going to make like between $500 and $700 a night. And I literally said to him, I'm like, fuck you. Right? I remember he laughed. I'm like, no. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, what am I transporting? Cocaine? Like, what am I?
Yeah.
He's like, no. He's like, you'll have some overhead. He's like, but, you should be taking home like, between... depending on the economy, between 70 and 90 grand a year, and he's like, if you do any hotshot jobs or anything more than that, you could make over 100K. They're doing that here in Minneapolis. I'm like, I don't believe that, and I will never forget. Like, I'm looking at the little tool they give me to check how much I'm making every day, and I check it every day, and I see the number, and I'm like, bullshit, no fucking way. And then I get my first settlement, and I'm like, it's like tax time.
Yeah, just a big lump sum.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm like, I gotta tell everybody I fucking know about this.
Yeah.
And so I start telling my brothers, and I'm telling everybody. I told my stepsister, I told all those people that I told, hey, I'm not gonna work anymore. And they don't fucking believe me. They're like, bullshit. And I tell Steve, and he was like, well, shit, get me in. And I get him in. He's like, holy shit. First thing he does is buy a suit, goes out to dinner. Like, you smoking cigars? I'm like, Steve, you don't even smoke cigars. What are you doing?
I do now, motherfucker.
So my family didn't start believing me until, like, I just started doing shit.
Uh-huh.
They're like, is that a brand new fucking car? They're like, yeah. They're like, well, you have terrible credit. I'm like, I do. And then they're like, you moved to the east side? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you didn't even tell anybody you moved. I'm like, no.
Just doing your own thing.
Because they were like, well, they wanted to stop by, and I just gave them a new address. And they're like, when did you move? I'm like, yeah, I moved a little bit ago. And so, that's like how I got started. It was a lot of anger, frustration, luck, but a lot of research more than anything. If I could do one thing, if I could give any advice to anybody, it would be like save your money, even if it's a little bit. Every time you get paid, like $50 a week goes a long way. It may not seem like it, but it really does. And then invest your money. Like you can save your money by investing. Like you might look at a stock, right, that doesn't do much. It might move up a little bit, it might move down a little bit. But if you keep your money there, if you keep putting $50 into that every week, you can remove that money from the stock anytime you want and put it back in your bank account. But if you don't, I mean, you'll end up they'll pay you to own the stock. That's called dividends.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Some good advice, some investment advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is some pretty good advice. So essentially, the concept kind of started when you realized that you didn't want to work for anybody else anymore.
No, I realized that, I was completely expendable. And not only that, they didn't even know my name.
Yeah, that's a kick in the nuts right there.
Yeah, that I was like, I wanted to drive to Chicago because that's where they're located, and I wanted to like talk to this lady face to face, and that wouldn't have been a good idea.
No,
not the state of mind that I was in. And I had been drinking heavily back then because that's all there was to do during COVID. I'd wake up, I'm like, well, might as well go to the fucking liquor store. I mean, and mind you, I was waking up at noon, so it was.
This isn't like a 5 a.m. beer. This is
no,
afternoon beer.
No, yeah.
Perfectly acceptable in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, but yeah, I realized I was expendable, and like, that's one thing. I don't care who you are at any company. If you drop dead today, your role will be filled in a couple days, if not the same day in some instances.
Yep. The only energy that's going to be put into you gone is the job description that they have to write to fill your place.
Yeah. And the only time they'll think about your name or even mention it is saying, I can't believe they left us with so much work. The audacity of them to not work well enough for us to have to fire them.
Yeah, right.
Putting that on us.
Right. Couldn't you quit before you died, jackass? No. You're absolutely right, though. Being expendable by pretty much any company is certainly one of those motivators to see what else is out there and what can you do for yourself and by yourself without needing anybody else. That's probably the mindset of most people that want to go into the business for themselves. It's just it's not you feel expendable. You want to do something for yourself, by yourself, or you want to do something that you really enjoy doing and happen to make money doing it, and that's the best. So that's why I strip on the weekends. I don't really do that.
It's a passion. It's not a phase. It's who you are.
And if you don't, maybe you should.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's pretty funny. So you like you mentioned, you got lucky. You feel like you got lucky. You did a lot of research.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I picked something that I knew, and that's another important thing. Like, you don't just want to go into something blind and pick it because it's the trendy thing to do. Like, I was flirting with like drop shipping, but I'm like, I don't know anything about, designing a website, marketing a product, or anything of that nature. I do know trucking. I do know what time to a 15-minute or so, like, window of when I will get somewhere, anywhere in the state, depending on the traffic. You know what I mean? So I'm like, taking that knowledge, maybe I should stick with that.
Sure.
And I feel like we all have something that we know about or something that we're passionate about that we could put into, in a position to make us money.
Right. We could. I think a lot of it has to do with like how much time can you spare setting it up, right? Like how long can you go without that income coming in to build the platform for you to launch from? Yeah, definitely. And yours didn't require an extreme amount of capital to start up. No. Kind of it happened to work out for you. Yeah.
But that's great. It was through those really low points there that it seems like that motivated you to want to research, find more, do better, and it just accelerated from there.
Yeah, and I've since found a lot more like resources for money for business. Like Walmart gives out, well, specifically for African Americans, they give out a lot of grant money for people who want to start businesses. There's a couple Bucks players that do it. I think Drew Holiday does it, and another Bucks player I don't remember, but they'll give out money.
Wow.
You go to grants.gov, and there's just a big list of grants that they give out.
Okay.
And you can find out for education, for business owners, for there's websites you can go on Google if you search. There's literally sites for investors that are looking for ideas to invest in. So, I mean, even if I didn't need a lot of capital, I could have gotten the capital.
Right.
Just because I put in the extra like half hour to an hour of research.
Right.
To find those things. Because it didn't take me long to find all that stuff.
Sure.
And then if you take the time to do those things, other people that are already in business will just give you loads of info.
Sure.
Like if you see someone that's like really trying out there and they're putting themselves out there, I've noticed that like when I do that, like people just give me advice. Just like money they could probably put it in a book,
right,
and make money off of it. But if they see you out there like, hey, he's trying to do this, he's trying to better himself, let me give him, push him on his way to a start, and the rest will be up to him or her.
Yeah, people recognize the hustle, that's for sure.
That's important too. You have to see someone putting in that effort first until you're willing to help them.
Yeah,
because it's not about the handout; it's the hand up, trying to push people a little bit forward. And of course, if it's a really, really good idea, no business owner is going to share it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's awesome, man. So, what are your plans for the next? I don't know. You've been doing this for 2 years now.
Since December of 2020, actually during the pandemic,
Oh, so just over a year.
Just over a year. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are your plans by 2025? What are you? I mean, assuming no nuclear apocalypse and all that shit. Where do you want your trucking business that you have right now? Where do you want that to go?
So, my plan is to cut out all middlemen. Mm-hmm. So, in this industry, a broker is a middleman. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Anybody you're leasing or renting a truck from is a middleman. Mm-hmm. And using someone else's DOT number, which is basically the number you need to drive on the road. And
the broker would have that then, right?
In some situations, it's a broker who has like a fleet of trucks.
Sure.
In other situations, it's a job, but mainly the broker. So
sure.
What I want to do is get my own DOT number, my own authority, which means my trucking authority, meaning I register with the DOT and all that, what that entails. I want to get my own brokerage license.
Oh, okay.
So that way I can get my own freight. So I don't need a broker at all. Mm-hmm. And then mainly it's just me dealing with, companies that need transportation. And then obviously getting my own truck instead of, leasing out a truck from someone. Mm-hmm. So, leasing out a truck for me.
Right.
Like paying it off until I own it.
Sure.
And so that's where I see myself in 5 years. It's crazy to think because like 4 years ago I was homeless.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. 2018. And I know you remember. Mm-hmm. I was sleeping on our buddy's couch. And
been there.
I had just like separated from my wife and sleeping on a buddy's couch, and the van that I used to get back from out of state was parked on the street and somebody hit it.
Jeez.
And then
I was there for that. I took pictures. I saw the guy get out of the van.
And I didn't go outside. I didn't want to go outside and talk to the police because I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't afford it. And then about a couple days later, the car got repoed.
Oh, jeez.
Then my license got suspended because that car was registered in Florida without insurance. Mm-hmm. And so my license got suspended, so I needed money to reinstate that license. And Chris Roca gave me that money.
Yeah.
So this story starts with Chris Roca.
So very nice.
Because if he doesn't give me the money to reinstate my license, none of this is possible.
Right.
Happy to help, man.
I appreciate it.
But regardless, I mean, even with that, you put in the work and the effort and the attention, energy, effort, all of that stuff is 100% required to do, and honestly, anything successful. And without that, even every good idea is just nothing but conversation unless you put forth the effort and energy to it.
That's right.
And you did, man. Congratulations on you.
I appreciate it. I had a lot of help.
Everybody does.
A lot of help.
Yeah, you can't do nothing by yourself, man. If you say you did, then you're lying because, every millionaire didn't make $1 million by themselves. They did it by exploiting poor people.
Right.
So just do that.
Or a small loan like Donald Trump had.
Yeah, just take a small loan of $1 million from dad. And, after that one goes bankrupt, just try it again.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
If you can't invent anything new, just purchase the title founder like Elon Musk.
There you go. Buy the patent.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart.
But I think it's just exciting to hear your story, to see that it was just absolutely rock bottom. Just when you thought things couldn't get worse, they got worse.
Oh,
but even through all that, you were able to just put a plan in motion. You did the research, you made it happen, and you made something of yourself. And now you're making 3 times the income that then you could have made with any other company.
Yeah, I'm about to double that even.
Wow.
This year when I'm gonna get my Class A, and this next week here I'm doing an accelerated class.
Oh.
It's 55 hours. Get a Class A, and then
That's for trailers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Tractor trailers.
those
cool.
kind of older operators, they range between some are making at the very low end like 120K, and at the very high end there's guys making like 700K. It depends on what you do.
Wow.
700. But is that like materials, like hazardous materials and shit like that?
Some of those guys,
yeah.
The mid-range guys, they're just they probably have a refrigerated trailer, and that pays a lot.
The
of
specialty
money.
type transportation.
If you transport food like what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
refrigerated work on my Class B truck, those guys make between 120 and 150, and that's what I just switched to. Remember I told you I switched clients? I switched to refrigerated.
Okay.
And, that's the potential to earn over 100K.
Wow.
But a guy in a Class A doing refrigerated, and he has no broker, he hasn't, because they take 30% of what I make, and then I pay them probably double what I would pay for my own truck, and then they take part of my fuel surcharge, and then they take a security deposit just in case I leave, and they take, so there's brokers kind of, and then I don't get to keep the truck after I pay it off.
Right.
Yep.
So brokers, they get their money,
Right.
even though I'm making more money than I ever would have been. That's why you want to cut out all middlemen,
Right.
But yeah, if you own your own rig, so you get a tanker endorsement and you transport waste.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you put a hose and it does the job for you. You do that and you have your own. I mean, you could make 300, 400K easily.
Damn.
I talked to a buddy of mine. I'm not gonna list his name, but he's on Facebook. He's a friend of mine, and he showed me his settlements at Class A, and he said a bad week for him after all of his expenses was $4,700 a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
After a bad week?
That's a bad week.
That's
He said
my
a good week's
goal
like
at the
8K.
moment.
Yeah, I mean, he owns his own rig.
Sure. Oh,
And,
sure.
He's been trucking for a while, so I mean, but it's possible. Not just with trucking, with anything, There's diesel mechanics. They could, if you got years of experience doing that, or if you can open up your own diesel shop. If you know somebody in the military, you can get a military contract.
Oh, sure.
So
Wow.
I mean, there's ways.
Sure. Absolutely. It's all about putting in the time and effort and energy and motivate yourself so that, you don't want to end up where you were, basically, right?
Yep, and been willing to do anything, whether if you crush anyone,
Yeah.
to get to your goal.
Essentially, it sounds shitty, but you really got to have a little bit of that selfish motivation, though, right? You just do.
Just a little bit, a healthy amount.
A healthy amount of the selfish motivation,
Right.
yeah. As long as you're not pulling anybody down, just walk over them, but don't knock them down.
But if they're down already,
just walk over them. Fuck it.
Yeah, my goal is to get to the point where my LLC is making 700K, and then I pay myself 350K just so I can just miss that little tax bracket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at that point, are you going to have a team of vehicles?
Like a fleet?
Yeah, have a fleet, and then I'm probably gonna live in Thailand or Vietnam.
Oh,
It's brilliant.
work all that money for a badass decision. All right.
Man,
Says the guy who hasn't left Wisconsin.
I left.
This
I went to
state is the
Nebraska Fuck you.
So you was in Nebraska, and that's your take on the
my
world.
That's my claim right there. I left.
I don't got a visa, but every other country is trash.
No, it's the cost of living and then the actual like versus like what you can get there.
Oh, I was just kidding, man. I know. I don't know shit. All I know is I don't want to go to Florida. That's all I know.
I lived there. It was awesome.
I know you did. And you came back.
Well, because I didn't have my CDL then. I couldn't afford to live there.
Sure. Fuck Florida.
Why?
It's really nice there. I enjoyed my time.
It is.
Thanks for tuning into this episode, everybody. I appreciate it. Hope you learned something. If there's any topic you want us to talk about, let us know. Any comments or questions, definitely let us know as well. Any last words you want to give to the twos of people that are listening?
No, not really. I really don't like you or Chris. I don't know why I'm here.
Strong words from a strong man, Captain Insano. All right, everybody. Have a good night.